Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners work session for September the 2nd, 2014. Welcome to everybody here in the audience. I would like to remind you that if you have a mobile device, please make sure it's on silent or vibrate so that it doesn't go off during our meeting. Welcome, Commissioners. The first thing that we have is the work session agenda for approval, and there are some changes, which I'm sure you've noted. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda? There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. First up, item 3.1. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to do the video first, Megan? Okay. We're all used to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners puts out videos, and so we're going to watch their video first.
Macon County Commissioner Ronnie Beal was sworn in as the NCACC's 98th president in August during the association's 107th annual conference. Beal is the second commissioner from Macon County to lead the NCACC. During his inaugural address, Beal unveiled his initiative to focus on the county role in mental health services.
And everyone in this room knows it. We have a great association. We have great vision from our executive director and staff. We have great leadership from our board of directors. As president, one of my goals will be, and the most important goal, is to make sure we stay great. We have an opportunity to help the state with a problem that they are truly struggling with now and have for a long time. So for this reason, I'm creating a statewide special task force to study the impact on counties of the current system, but most of all, putting the citizens who need the treatment and the service in the forefront. The task force will develop a series of recommendations and guidelines for each county to follow that will be presented at next year's annual conference. The only motivation we really need to remember when we're talking about this issue, no other disease, no other illness, nothing you can think of will you be escorted into an emergency room, placed on a gurney for sometimes to 300 hours and receive no treatment. Nothing. It's a shame. We can do better. When with the help of this group, we're going to do better.
Durham County Commissioner Brenda Howerton was elected second vice president in an uncontested race at the conference. Pitt County Commissioner Glenn Webb moved up to become president-elect, and Davidson County Commissioner Fred McClure moved up to become first vice president. During the conference, the Task Force on Economic Development unveiled its final report and recommendations. Surrey County Commissioner Larry Phillips chaired the task force, which was conceived by past President Ray Jeffers of Person County as his presidential initiative for 2013 and 14.
The task force was charged with identifying opportunities for economic growth across North Carolina, studying the tools available or needed to grow strong local economies, and recommending to President Jeffers and this committee, this board, the strategies to achieve continuous growth for all counties. There were 25 members that participated in the task force, representing 22 counties, both urban and rural.
Video from keynote speaker Neil Peterson and from second general session speaker Dr. Vincent Cavello is available on the NCACC's YouTube channel. Many of the presentations from the various workshops and sessions have been posted on the NCACC's website as well. The NCACC thanks the more than 350 county officials from around the state who attended the conference.
Every 2 years, in the months preceding a long session of the General Assembly, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners determines a new slate of legislative goals. Each county board of commissioners is eligible to submit goals to be considered during this process. A goal should be statewide in nature and should be directly related to services and responsibilities of county government. The deadline to submit goals for this year is September 19th. Our 7 steering committees will meet throughout the months of September and October to review the submitted proposals and decide which should be forwarded to the Legislative Goals Committee. We encourage every county to actively participate in this process, either by submitting legislative goals or having county commissioners serve on one of our steering committees. In recent years, the association has achieved many goals adopted by our membership. and we have stopped several potentially costly unfunded mandates to counties. That success is due to the active participation of our members. Please mark your calendars now for the 2015 Legislative Goals Conference, January 15th through 16th. I look forward to seeing you there.
The Association has filed amicus or friend of the court briefs in 2 cases that will impact counties statewide. In Union County, a decision of the trial court awarded over $90 million in additional funds to the school board. At the direction of our board of directors, the association filed an amicus brief with the court to explain the implications of such a decision. In addition, the association filed an amicus brief in a Davidson County case involving the valuation of property belonging to Parkdale Mills. This case could impact how property valuations are done statewide.
All right, thank you. Okay, Commissioners, 3.1, Soil and Water Conservation District. Dennis Testerman is here. Welcome.
We're here to ask for your authorization for us to enter into a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This is matching funds for a grant that we wrote back in the fall after coming. Thank you. A grant that we wrote back in the fall after coming to you with that, and that in turn was matching funds for a state grant that we have already received. This is to put a conservation easement on Porter Farms. This is a second easement. You've already heard about one previously prior to this. It's a second easement on 182, almost 183 acres. So, short and sweet.
Okay, Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions? What we would be asked to do at our regular meeting is to accept the grant award and adopt the budget revision and revised budget ordinance and grant authority to the manager to execute on behalf of the county. Does
And we
anybody
do
any
have
questions?
the landowner here if you have questions of the landowner.
I think we ought to grant it. It's a good policy.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? It's good when we've done something before, right? And we got a lot of questions out of the way previously, so, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, the next one, Londa Strong is here. I don't know how much, we're going to have a public hearing. We've talked about this a number of times to update our ordinance, so I don't know if we need to talk about it much tonight. I don't know what your pleasure is. Anybody that necessarily wants to add anything over what's been said previously, or if we just want to go ahead with the public hearing. Anybody? Chris is saying go ahead with the public hearing in 2 weeks. Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, we'll just have the public hearing.
Okay. Jason, you good with 2 weeks? Steve, you good? Okay. Londa, that was easy. I know she's here. Where are you? Hey, Londa, come up, because the next one you will have to talk about, and I don't know if Blake's coming up with you as your board chair or not, the matching incentive grants.
Blake Kiger is the chair of our property committee for the Active Living in Parks Commission. And as usual, we receive applications for matching incentive grants. And what Blake is going to do is go over what we received and what the Park Commission is recommending to the Board of Commissioners for this year.
Thank you, Londa. Good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. One of the really good things that we do here in this county is this matching grant program that allows citizens to put together projects on their own, raise funds, and then know that at the end of the tunnel there may be a chance to grab some extra funds to be able to complete their projects. So this year we had a total ask of $66,700. The amount of money that we are able to approve and recommend is $50,000. So we had to kind of go through and scrap $16,700 out of it. The presentations were made by the Concord Rotary Club Foundation, Hartselle Athletic Association, Weddington Hills PTO, Patriots PTO, C.E. Boger Elementary PTO, Northwest Cabarrus Middle/High School, and the Harrisburg Youth Association back in June. So then we go through the vetting process and then have come today with the recommendation. And basically, well, it's kind of in small type, but if you look up at the top, at the third column from the left to the right, if you go from left to right, the third column over that bottom total, that's the $66,000. And then you have to bump over to the far right, and you see where the total is $50,000. So if you look up, the bulk of the project for the Harrisburg Youth Association will be put off till next year. The committee they weren't far enough along in what they were trying to accomplish to get the grant and be ready for this year. So the ask went away. So then we had another $1,600 to take away from the up at the top. So I can't remember off the top of my head which one. I can't remember which one we took that out of. But anyway, the far right is our recommendation from the Active Living and Parks Commission Board. So as you can see down, that totals $50,000. And I do have some detail. I won't go into all of it unless you'd really like to hear it. But there is some. I can answer some questions about some of the projects if you'd like to hear it.
Hartselle is the one you took it away from.
Okay, so the full $1,600 came out of the Hartselle Athletic Association. That doesn't ring a bell with I thought we did it out of two, but that's okay.
Where are these grant funds coming from? State, federal?
The
Local?
match, it's
Yeah.
local. It's
all
Cabarrus
local.
County money, yes. And the program's set up so that whoever applies, which has to be a Cabarrus County group, and on Cabarrus County property or City of Concord, some government-owned, you cannot match county money to county money, or city money. It couldn't be money out of Cabarrus County schools. This is PTA, Booster Club, fundraiser, that type of money.
So you got $15,000 going to the Rotary Club, right?
Yes.
I thought when they originally started that, they were going to raise those funds.
Well, they, according to the application they made with the ALP, they've got, I guess that's the first column, the $40,375, and they requested 15 as a match. So they had more than what they're asking for. And they actually, I don't know if you remember last year's presentation, they had the Harrisburg column that's zero this year. Last year they had the zero. They weren't far enough along, and this group said, well, maybe something we'll have to look at in the future, and that's just part of, the application process.
Okay, any other questions concerning these or comments that anybody would like to make? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, 3.4 is the goals, and Kelly Sifford. Kelly, do you have something you want to add to that? And Mike,
Yeah, while Kelly's coming up, the entire list we passed out to the department heads. Kelly does have one revision. I also added, which is in your extra material, Megan, what page is that on? $214. One that was related, there they are, to reinstate the asset test to determine eligibility for the food and nutrition program, and to reinstate full funding for school growth based on average daily membership. That capture what you guys, I know Jason, you were, number one was yours.
Yeah, and number two was mine, based on the recent budget that was passed. And I can speak to that if you want me to. My concern is that if the legislature is supposed to fund for teaching positions, I know they don't fund all of them, sadly, but that's what they're supposed to do. If they don't fund for growth, then I can tell you what's going to happen. They're going to come to us and want us to fund the growth, and then wait to see if they get it back from the state when they get their 20-day or 40-day count. And I think that's unfunded on the counties. So I think that's something that we don't want to have passed down on us. And they're going to have growth. And I can just tell you that you really don't want to be hiring teachers in October when school starts in August. And you don't want to hire teachers in August if you can help it. So that's just for them to go back to how they've always done it. It's nothing radical. It's just to do what you've always done and don't throw it down on us. That's what that number 2 is about. So do you want to talk about yours?
Wanted to give you a quick update that since you were provided the 2012, 2014 policies and positions has been released from the North Carolina Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. I went through it quickly to give you kind of an overview of parts that have changed or been updated that would, I think, be of interest to you. There was a good bit of discussion in it regarding point source pollution funding and programs for reduction of non-point source pollution. Some of it was related to additional funding. Some of it was working to, I don't know if it was necessarily to increase restrictions or develop programs to help deal with those issues. It's more prescriptive regarding the training funding and position funding for districts across the state and what they would like to see. It opposes user fees that may impede conservation planning. I think some of the programs have suggested user fees, and they are not interested in that at all. They wanted restoration of the North Carolina Ag Development Farmland Trust back to $1.7 million and $1 million for the Ag Wrap program. Specific travel funding request for district supervisors. They wanted specific funding for engineering positions and incorporation of soil and water into the emergency management plan statewide, and we have already actually started incorporating them in our plan locally here. Those are really the big changes that if you're interested in, you may want to look at those sections, but overall, most of the information is similar to what, it's updated from the previous version, so most of it was in there, along the way somewhere, but those are the highlights.
So what you're proposing is to amend number 17 to
2014
policies?
Yes.
Okay.
Just so we're at the same place that everybody across the state would be looking at.
Right. Okay. Okay, Commissioners, were there any 1 through 17 or the same ones we did previously? So we're just adding the 1 and 2 would become 18 and 19, I would guess. Is there anything else that anybody thinks that we should add or change or?
No, I'm fine with the 2 that were added, and the other ones are basically the same ones I've seen for the past 4 years, so I'm fine with that.
Sometimes it does take a while, doesn't it? Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think the only one that I would like to see removed, and this is just my own personal opinion, and it may not be the opinion of the board, is number 11. Study the impact to local government finances of exempting nonprofits from the requirement of paying property taxes, and review possible payment in lieu of taxes requirements. I think that would dramatically impact our churches and a lot of organizations here in the county that are really doing good things, and I'm not for having those entities pay taxes, so I don't necessarily support number 11, but that's just my opinion.
And can you remind me, the payment in lieu of taxes requirements, isn't that why that came in? I mean, I think that's why we added it, was based on that.
The payment in lieu of taxes is typically just a payment that's made from a jurisdiction that's not taxable. I think the biggest impact that the county has received from the nonprofits is the hospital system, and then purchasing all the doctors' offices out. They've all become nonprofits, and that's made a huge impact on the county as far as sales tax is concerned and property tax. But you're right, it would potentially affect the churches also.
It does seem like we rely heavily on particularly the hospital. I've heard in my tours with Alan Thompson and things like that, he talks significantly about how much benefit the hospital gives to our EMS departments in terms of hard equipment and things like that. I know that they implemented this really tremendous new program that's had wonderful benefits for a lot of our residents in terms of getting them heart treatment much faster than anybody else. And I think it's James McAvoy is the person that came up with that program. I'd like to give him credit, but I do know that the hospital has given tremendous benefit to the community, and I know that they serve one of their obligations in terms of being a nonprofit is that they have to serve all of our citizens, and quite frankly, a lot of citizens don't want to pay for medical treatment these days. So I'm not necessarily for, like I said, having our churches or things like our hospital being required to pay taxes when they do provide such a tremendous benefit without any cost to our people.
Okay, well, Steve or Larry, do you have any comments on this list?
I don't have no problem with paying taxes on their profits, like the hospital. I know they're supposed to be nonprofit, and they give away a lot, but they also make a lot, don't they? Same way with the churches. You know, if the only thing ought to be exempt for the church should be the building they worship in. Anything else they own ought to be taxed, as far as I'm concerned.
Steve, do you have any?
I would say on number 11, it says study the impact, which I certainly don't have a problem with that, and I think that would perhaps give us a little bit more factual information. So I would be in favor of leaving that one on the list.
We are asked tonight, based on the timeline, and we talked about this last month to make sure we had enough time to look at them, for us to go ahead and approve something tonight. So may I, at this time, is there any other comments? Sorry. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules for this item, please? For motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion? It seems that the majority is fine to leave number 11 on there since it's to study, and to add as 18 and 19 the additional two.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the list of 2014-2015 Cabarrus County legislative goals to be submitted to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, with the addition of the two items that appeared on the screen earlier.
And also change 2012 to 2014.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. There is a motion and there is a second. Any other discussion?
I'm just going to vote against this because I don't think that our churches or our hospitals should be taxed.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries 4-1. The next item we have, Pam, you're going to cover that one, I think, cooperative extension.
Yes. As part of the state budget that was approved, and later there'll also be an agenda item for the passage of the school salaries. The cooperative extension offices, instead of being offered a change in their pay, they are being offered what's called a bonus leave. And because we participate with cooperative extension in a match, they are specifically requesting that each employee to receive 40 hours of leave to be allocated to each full-time employee. This will also request to have a waiver because this is due back to the state by September the 11th. They got the memos out late this year. But it's up to our board to decide whether we want to participate in that. And if we do participate, the employees will receive the full 40 hours of leave. If we do not choose to participate, they will only receive 20 hours of leave. So on the second page of this agenda item is actually the form from NC State that needs to be signed by the chairman and turned into the state office based on the decision our board makes.
Okay, I believe we did this last year, maybe
Yes,
the last
ma'am.
few years.
And also point out in the agenda item that the cooperative extension employees do not receive any pay compensation as far as what our county employees receive. They get all their guidance and direction from the state of North Carolina. We just participate by paying part of their salaries based on a maintenance of effort agreement.
Any questions or comments, commissioners?
Pam, my only question on this is just essentially renewing the program that we voted on last year, not in addition to the program that we voted on last year?
It's just an annual program. They got the 40 hours last year, and then they're coming back with the same 40 hours for this year.
Don't the state pay for it?
Well, they in essence cover half and we cover half.
County covers half.
Because we pay half their salaries.
So we cover 20 hours.
Mhm. That's how they came down with their raise.
What happens, we only vote for 20 hours? State cover that?
State covers the 20 and they don't get the 20 from us. Right? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we're also asked to suspend our rules tonight to go ahead and vote on this one. So may I have a motion to suspend the rules and to vote on item 3.5? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So at this time I accept a motion. I think we should do it. We've done it before, so they don't get much else, but if that's what the state's offered them, that's just my opinion. So somebody want to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service request for special leave as indicated in our agenda item.
Okay. There's a motion and there is a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Point out all the nice red shirts back over there. I know Jason pointed them out earlier before the meeting started, so.
And yellow.
And yellow. And yellow. There's always somebody that has to be just slightly different, right?
Yeah, don't leave many out.
Okay, now we're going to go to item 3.6. And Pam, I think you're going to handle this one.
Yes, and I'm going to get Megan to pull up the organizational chart because I'm going to do my best to get you guys through this explanation. Based on the adopted budget, there were 4 positions that were eliminated from the Concord branch. And to point out 2 of those positions through our ordinance, one person was retiring, so that position was eliminated, and another person was under probation, and that was another requirement for that position to be eliminated when you're doing things in the order of how the ordinance works. So under the Concord branch, under reference, we lost 1 employee. Under the circulation supervisor, there were 2 library assistants that were eliminated. One of those assistants did the public outreach to the nursing homes. And then on the far right, you can't see the, there, it's almost there, a little bit further. The collections development area, there was a library assistant lost in that area, and that's technical services, and that places all the books in all 4 branches of the library. So that's where the 4 positions were eliminated. And as we started the budget year, we were testing to see how we were going to continue operations in those branches. One kink we did not anticipate was since July 1st, we have had 5 resignations of staff members who have left our branches, and we have 1 retirement. 3 of those employees are already gone. 1 leaves on September the 11th, another on September the 18th, and another one was scheduled out on September the 30th for retirement, but may have to leave earlier due to some family medical problems. What we're finding is difficulties in keeping this branch running because some of those positions actually supported the other branches when they had individuals who were out. So in assessing and studying the hours of the libraries, and Mike Downs, Lundy, Covington, and myself actually sat down with the entire Concord staff and had a conversation with them on what they felt like could help them get through this time period. And the reduction in hours was one of the options that was proposed. What we did find is that the hours for Mount Pleasant and Harrisburg match each other, and the hours for Kannapolis and Concord almost match each other except for by 2 hours. So what we're looking to do is to be consistent across all 4 branches. And what that would mean would be to the reduction of Monday and Tuesday at the Concord branch would be closing 1 hour earlier. And then on Saturdays, Kannapolis and Concord would both only operate from 9 to 1. One of the problems that are happening on Saturdays is in order for employees to be able to take a lunch working 9 to 5, other staff members would have to come in and work the lunch hours. So we are feeling like this would be a solution to help us through until maybe we can get back to being full staffed. And we do understand that there are a couple other positions that may potentially be vacated over the next, say, month, because it has been coming upon us. Our latest resignation was this morning, and that is the latest one that's been added to the list. And they are key positions. They are branch managers, that's the library director, it's the person over the technical services area, and a couple of senior and library assistants. So we are requesting this. And one more time, I would ask for you to suspend the rules so that we can make this modification effective. I guess it would be effective next Monday would be the best notification that we could get out to the public. But in trying to keep the library open, if the resignations continue at the rate they're going, we may have to come back to you with another alternative plan for how we're going to manage the operation of the 4 branches that we have currently.
Yeah, we informally requested earlier in July, and some of you had some concerns that we need to give a little more time, so we went back, gave it almost a month and a half, and tested it out to see what was going on. And as Pam was describing, coverage hours, it's really the hours and having people in the library to be able to cover that many hours that they're open. And then with the resignations or retirements, adding to that shortage of employees. It's really become to the point that we're struggling to keep the remaining employees within their hours and a reasonable amount of overtime hours as well, and to keep the branches open. So we're asking that this is as an option to help keep the libraries open, but minimize the hours. And then actually it'll be the same all the way across the board. So if the public is, once we make the public aware, there would be the same hours for all the libraries. So it would be consistent throughout the county.
Okay, commissioners' comments or questions at this time?
Pam, how many resignations did you say total?
5 resignations and 1 retirement.
Have they offered explanations as to this sudden rash of resignations?
I have not inquired into.
Well, I don't believe we've done it. There's been no exit interviews at this time with them. So.
When will the exit interviews be conducted?
Based on their resignation dates and their last days, we try to get them in that day or 1 or 2 days before, prior to.
Okay. I'd be curious as well.
Okay, any other comments?
I would move that we suspend the rules to take action on this today.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to suspend the rules in a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Jason was getting ready to key up when you did that, so do you want to go ahead and?
The Mount Pleasant Library is currently open right now on Saturday, is that right?
Yes, from 9 to 1, and that's the branch, that's the resignation this morning, was the director or the operation person who runs that branch.
And they have, I think on your sheet, they have 4 employees, is that correct?
2 full-time, 2 part-time.
Okay. And how many employees does Concord have?
Concord actually operational in the branch would be on the second column from the left-hand side. That is their actual operational staff, and then on the far right is the collection and development that work upstairs in the, what we would call the main office for all 4 of the branches. So what you have there is we have a senior library assistant who works in the collection division who is also having to go downstairs and work in circulation during peak times.
But I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. And then the technical services position that's in the circulation division is vacant right now. So if you want me to tell you where the vacancies are, I can actually tell you that too.
Well, just in total, how many people are working at the Concord branch?
I believe 11 if you were just looking at the branch and not counting the far right-hand corner staff that's for circulation, the ones who buy the books and catalog them for all the different branches and courier them around.
And then if you include, is it 4 people that are on the, or is it
Yes,
5?
there's 4.
Okay, there's 4, so there's 15 people total, people working at that facility. And one of the reasons that they said that we needed to reduce the hours on Saturdays was because they didn't have coverage. But it looks like it's just 4 more hours on Saturday, and if you think about that in comparison to Mount Pleasant that has 4 employees and they have 15 employees, I suppose the resignations would be the issue. But I have constituents that have talked to me that regularly use the library, and they tell me that they go into the library and there are several people that are just standing around and really don't look very productive. When I went on a tour of all of the libraries, and I went up into the children's area. I think it was a weekday. I think it was a Tuesday that I went. There wasn't a child up in the children's area, and there was 2 people working up there. I think that there are some efficiencies that can be implemented in terms of the Concord Library that would cover some of these issues, but I'll let you all make a decision how you want to handle it.
Okay, is there a motion would anyone like to propose a motion at this time?
I move that we accept and approve the recommendation to standardize the library hours of operations across all 4 branches as proposed.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion. Is there a second? Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
And do you want to report back from the resignations as to the generalization of their reasons for leaving? Is that what you were looking for?
I would like to see it, if it's just
Yeah,
email or however you compile it, I mean.
Okay,
you know, it
yeah,
doesn't have to
we
be-
typically ask. They don't always supply that information, so
Right.
if the ones that do answer the question.
Okay. I would like to know, I've had several former employees of the library branch that have, kind of shared their concerns over the past few years, so I'm not sure this is just a most recent event, as it's all just coming together at once. So I'd like to know.
Is that normal turnover per year?
I have to go back and look at the statistics. I would say that, no, it's not normal. Maybe throughout a year, you're going to have some turnover, but to have this many at one time, it makes it hard to make up with other positions in those hours.
And I'm sure that whatever report we get will keep anonymity and be general so that it isn't a problem with our
That's
human
correct.
resources and
That's correct.
personnel issues. So.
Sure.
Mike, one question I'd specifically like to have asked of these people. We had the memo that was dated February 27th, 2014, in regard to some inaccurate information that was sent out by our library, and the memo that you had written out to the Friends of the Library. I would like to know specifically if that incident impacted some of these people's decisions on whether they would stay with our library.
Okay, 3.7, Kelly Klutz is here. Request to transfer funds for the Northwest Elementary School construction project. And I'm going to ask you, is there a name other than Northwest Elementary School? Has the board come up with a name yet?
Not officially.
Okay.
We call it a lot of things.
Yeah, I know that, but I just want to make sure we were referencing the right. You're speaking of the facility that will be built at the old Odell site.
The old Odell property.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all talking about the same school. Thank you.
We are. Good afternoon. We have a request before your board to move funds categorically. We're not asking for additional funds today. We're asking to move funds from the area of site development into architecture, and it's because the Board of Education originally planned for a K-5 school, and after there was a decision to change the grade configuration to 3-5, there was additional design fees that were necessary. So we're asking to move funds from site development to architecture to take care of that change order. Other questions?
Okay, Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time?
Had the architect already designed that 1 through 5?
Yes, he did.
And this is funds to make the changes to a 3 through 5, correct?
That's correct.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. We were approached in the very beginning of this year that we urgently had to address this school because it had to get open for the fall of this year. It hasn't even started. I'm sorry, the fall of 2015. It hasn't even started, and now we're finding out that it's going to cost the taxpayers of Cabarrus County $100,000 because they hadn't come to a conclusive decision on how they wanted to operate this school, whether it would be a K through 5 or whether it would be a 3 through 5, and I just think there's a lot of waste going on, and I wish that the Board of Education would get their ducks in a row and then come to us in a timely and appropriate manner and lay things out for us. And this is one of the reasons that I've so desperately and continually asked for, the entire budget up front so that we could get some of these costs. I hate to see $100,000 get flushed down the drain on things that were already done, and now we're coming back and finding out that $94,480 is needed because this school was not drawn to the use that we now want to use it for.
Okay, and I was just going to say, I think it was more following up to Larry, but you added it to your comments. I received your comment, I understand your comment, but I just want to make sure that it's not asking for additional county dollars to be added to the project. It's moving dollars within the project. So I don't want somebody listening to this to think that we're now, I understand your comment. I'm not disagreeing with what you said. I just want to make sure anybody that's listening to this that doesn't have a chance to really see everything realizes that it's shifting and we're not approving a new budget item to give more money to them for this project. Their total dollar amount's not changing.
Sure.
Okay. And I know you know that. I just wanted to reiterate that.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that clarification. Development on this site has not occurred yet, so we're taking money. It's not money that's additional that was not used. It's money that has not been used yet, but will be needed to be used. And so when it comes time for development to happen, it's very likely that this $94,000 will be additional money at this time. But wherever the money comes from, I mean, whatever pot it comes from, it's all taxpayer money. And so when if there was $94,000 that was left over in this project, we could have taken it and put it on a roof of a school, or we could have taken it and used it to fund a use in addition to this project, and now we've lost that ability. And so it is $94,480 that the taxpayers have lost the benefit of.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you on anything you said. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that's listening, we're not increasing the pot. The pot's staying the same. So that's all. I just wanted to make sure, because I know you get it just like I do. People will ask us, why did you do such and such? And like, well, we didn't really do that. So I know you were getting ready to say something, and I'm happy to give you an opportunity.
Sure, happy to respond. Actually, the change is a very beneficial one to the residents and to the taxpayers. As the school board was going through the student reassignment effort, really it was seeing that we were going to be splitting a very large neighborhood. And so working through that process of trying to keep the neighborhood together, we also looked at the existing school and how it was being utilized. So this plan actually is a plan that better utilizes the existing Odell school. So it's actually more efficient. So we're going to better utilize the existing Odell Elementary School. We're changing the grade configuration of this one to grades 3 through 5. Again, it's a more efficient floor plan. It's a more efficient plan. It's a more efficient use of the utilization of the facilities. So actually it does save money, and it is a win for the community because it does keep the community together. It doesn't divide the neighborhood. So it looked like a really, and it is, a really good solution, a really creative solution, and we're very happy about it.
And I expect that is probably wonderful for all those reasons. But all those reasons existed prior to us spending this money. And had we come up with those reasons before we made a decision, instead of, well, I don't want to say that. But had we come up with these reasons prior to making a decision, we could have saved the taxpayers $94,480. And I know that you all have a tremendous amount of needs. We got your list with $180 million on it. I personally would have rather seen this $94,000 go to one of those needs than go to fix something that's already been done and is not useful anymore. That's all that I'm saying about this.
Anybody else have a comment or a question on this item? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. The next one, 3.8, 3.9. Larry, I asked you beforehand. You tabled that to our regular meeting. Is that correct? Okay, so we don't need to do anything on those two tonight. His motion was to take it to the regular meeting, so we can skip over those at this point. 3.10, Susan Farrington is here. If you skip ahead, Commissioners, that's on page 173.
I'm here again this month to ask for reappropriations of ongoing projects from our 2014. In August, we reappropriated the items that we knew about, and then since that time, we have finalized our list, went back to the departments to make sure they went through all their projects. And before you have a budget amendment and a spreadsheet that lists all the projects that we're needing to reappropriate funds from our 2014 year into the 2015 year. Most of these are in the lines of the timing of projects just cannot be completed before June 30th. There's some technology type projects that were not able to be completed, and some grant projects that were carried over because of the grant requirements. We need to carry them over to the new year. Is there any questions on the projects?
On page 175, you have $253,556 for supplemental personnel. What does that line item comprise?
I don't have the electronic version, I'm sorry.
It's on page 310 of your document.
It's a request to reappropriate $95,573 for the Medicaid temporary staff that was funded in last fiscal year, and the delay that the state did because of the food stamp program. They didn't get to start on the Medicaid program until later. So that staff is to get into this program. They had their first deadline that they met in August, and their next deadline is in December. Right. So it's to reappropriate the funds to continue that temporary staff for those programs.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions on those items? Okay, thank you. Okay, next, 3.11, Jonathan Marshall. Concord Greenway parking agreement and easement.
And if I may back up to one item you did early on in the matching grant program, Commissioner Burridge, you asked about the Rotary Square project and its funding. That funding, along with that matching grant, has been completed, and in fact the project is underway. That does include the remainder of a North Carolina Tobacco Trust Fund grant, as well as a contribution from Piedmont Farmers Market, plus additional private contributions to complete the total budget. And those were the matching funds that they then put forward for the Parks and Recreation, or for active living in parks. This is actually a project that the county schools had worked with the City of Concord on. The commissioners had granted an easement across some property that lies between Odell Elementary School and Harris Road Middle School, off of Harris Road, for a greenway that's actually already built and runs behind the Moss Creek development. There's additional greenway that was granted from the Moss Creek development for this. They had, at one of the trailheads, which is at the Odell Elementary, they had determined a need for some parking. Some of those folks were parking in the elementary school lot. So the City of Concord offered to build additional spaces and did so. After doing that, their legal did come back and ask and request that we bring this easement forward to you, that they could be an easement that went along with those spaces. It does not take, again, any parking away from the schools. In fact, by providing that parking, keeps people from going over to the elementary school to park. So this is just the easement that goes along with the parking spaces that have been constructed.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions about this particular item?
I would ask what the significance of the lizards painted in the parking spaces are?
That is the logo. In fact, you'll see those downtown also on greenways. That is the logo that the City of Concord uses for their greenway system.
So that designates it as greenway parking.
It does.
Glad to know that.
Designated as the greenway parking and where the greenway itself is.
That's right.
So if you're trying to follow a greenway and you don't exactly know, you'll see the
Look for
lizards.
I would
Yes.
prefer that over snakes.
Me too.
Yes.
I definitely agree with that one. Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay. And Jonathan, you have the next one. Is Alan here also?
Alan is not here. Alan is out of town, but this is the agreement that goes along with, of course, you had budgeted for, we call it a lease, but it is a payment for space that EMS will have within the new fire station number 11 being built by the City of Concord on Weddington Road. And we would make a single payment to be for a 50-year term lease. Mr. Cook put this lease together, so if you have specific questions about that, he could answer those. Again, the construction schedule, we had included in the budget staffing to provide for this only in the last quarter of this year. That is about the time that this construction will be completed. Of course, the payment wouldn't need to be made prior to that because construction will take place prior to that, and the expenditures will take place prior to that. But the staff may be brought on and actually come out of the Pitt School station to begin with. It does not require a new truck. We'll be using one of the reserve trucks to cover this station. So this is only for the actual lease document and the payment that, of course, was budgeted along with that.
Okay, Commissioners, do you have any questions about this item? Just kind of moving this project along is what this amounts to.
It's basically the same thing we did with Kannapolis previously, same type of arrangement.
And we are reviewing, as you recall, we're also in the same discussions with the town of Harrisburg for their new fire station on Rocky River Road, and have provided a similar document to them for their review.
Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Jonathan. 3.13, we're removing. 3.14, Kelly Sifford.
Good evening. We are required annually to hold a public hearing at the end of our fiscal year for the grant program for our home. We did complete one unit this year. We've got 3 more that went through the qualification process. We've got 2 that may be bid very soon, and a 3rd one that I'm working on a lot of different alternatives, trying to find a way to make it work. So that is what we have completed for the year. Are there questions?
So we're required to have a public hearing?
Just, yeah, to allow the public to comment on the activity for the year.
Okay. So will you'll present the activity at the meeting?
I will present it at the meetings.
For public hearing?
Yeah, I'll make sure that we do it for the the viewing public at that time too.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Commissioners, any comments or questions on this item? Time you reach up, I think you're going for the microphone and you're not, you're putting your pen down. That's probably fine.
I had it on accidentally, so I was shutting it off.
Okay, that's fine. Peripherally, my vision was catching it, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, 3.15, Pam, you're going to handle this one, and you'll have to skip up to page 211, Commissioners.
211. It's like, I know it's out there somewhere. Okay, the state has passed their budget, and as part of the contingency that was placed during the budget process, we put funds in there to cover the local funding for staff members at our schools, whether they be teachers, janitors, assistant principals, etc. That money was placed into the contingency line item, and after working with Kannapolis City Schools and Cabarrus County Schools, their portion of the local funded positions is $399,954. The budget revision is attached to take that money out of contingency and to place it into the appropriate line items. Rowan and Cabarrus Community College was unable to get their information completed, so the next...
Sorry, David. Next month, I will have Rowan and Cabarrus Community Colleges increases in there. Theirs were somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000. So that was part of the money that was placed in a contingency, but this will take care of both school systems to get them in line for the state-approved salary increases for their positions.
Okay, Commissioners, comments or questions at this time on this item? Pam, can you let us know at our regular meeting what the balance is in the contingency?
$354,111.18. It's on the budget revision.
Again? Sorry.
354,111.18. It actually is on the budget revision, so that's the good news.
That's fine, as long as we, yeah, I just want to make sure.
And it's current, that's the current balance
That's
after,
the current,
after
okay.
this budget revision.
And the other items, so Rowan Cabarrus, their salary match would come out of that.
It's somewhere between 10 and 12,000.
Right.
The
And-
state approved something like $1,000 for their local positions, and I don't know how many there are. She'll have that calculation for me soon, and it had a little bit. They had a little bit of retirement that benefits that went along with those two line items. And then the
what else are we looking?
The remainder of the money is to find out how many charter school students on the second month count, and that'll be about middle of October. I think we'll know what that number is, and that's what the remaining contingency money was for.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners, on that item? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, if you will look at the regular meeting agenda, and I do want to point out, there's another meeting that I go to, and at every one of those meetings, before we start the meeting, or the very beginning of the meeting, we read the mission and the vision statement. So, which it's taken me a little bit to think, oh, okay, well, that was kind of cool to get kind of centered. So that's why that's now been added to our agenda items, just as that's the mission statement for the county. And it just helps me to look at it again. And in case you were wondering why that's on there, it's because of me doing it in another meeting, and I thought it was kind of neat to do that. So. If you will look on the consent agenda, Commissioners, we already took care of number 3 tonight, so we can remove that one. 5 and 6, I would like to put that under new business. 3 and 4. I think both of those we've been kind of waiting to get some additional information, and I don't know if we'll have anything between now and then. I am presuming that with the charter school student numbers, that's still out there until October, so it may be something that we would want to table again. I'm not certain. We may get first month count. I don't know how much, I don't know what that amount's going to be. That's why I was asking what the balance was in our contingency. In essence, if the charter school students are higher than projected, then we wouldn't have enough money potentially in contingency. And so that's the reason why I was going to mention that we move 5 and 6 to be 3 and 4. And 2 weeks, if we want to put it back on consent, that's perfectly fine with me too. We can address it then. I think the other ones are fine, if I read them all correctly. So is there anything else that is there anything that I've missed? If not, I would ask for a motion that we approve the agenda, the regular meeting agenda with those changes. And we have a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion. There's a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We may have set a record for our work session, so we all should be really, really happy. If there's nothing else to come before us, then I would accept a motion that we adjourn. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all very much. See you in 2 weeks.